But basically, we don't need to have two Americas where Congress lives by one set of rules and the rest of them lives by another.
Right.
And I said that, I wouldn't take any benefit as far as the benefits of, if everybody else has got to live under Obamacare, we ought to have to live under Obamacare. But hopefully what South Carolina does will be catalyst for other states, and we can shut this thing down.
We're not alone. Make the military go for other states.
Oh yeah, there's several that, they're watching us. They're watching what we do. Yes, ma'am.
Mark Levin has come out with this state's convention of the state.
The Article 5.
The Article 5. I think I heard on the radio today that South Carolina has somebody who's working on that.
Larry Grooms is the lead sponsor in the Senate of the Article 5.
Well, we don't think it's a good thing.
Well, there's a difference between Article 5 and the Constitutional Convention. And I'm studying the details now because I've heard a lot on both sides, and I'm taking it all in. But, the Article 5, as I talked to Senator Grooms, if what, and he's not professing to be an expert on the Article 5, but if we were talking about it and going through the motions, and my understanding is each state gets a delegate, whatever they come up with. You have 50 delegates. Whatever they come up with has to be ratified by the state legislature. So it's not like they get to go into this big room and once they decide something, we got to live under it.
But what I understand is the delegates are not sworn to do what they say they're going to do when they get there.
Right, but once they get there, they really don't have any authority to do anything. All they do is put stuff to the states, and then it's got to pass the legislatures. And, I got to study it more because I want to be a lot more intelligent on it. So I just got a call last week about it, and I got friends on both sides, strong, very strong. And I'm fixing to get back because I talked to Senator Grooms about it. I'm fixing to go back to my other side who's so strongly against it and say, all right, tell me which part of this do you think is not accurate? Because to me, if you get 50 together and whatever they do there's no binding to the states, that each legislature has to pass it. That my understanding is, I think you said 3/4 of the legislators had to pass it.
Here's the
You need
question.
2/3.
Right.
You need 2/3 to propose the change, the amendment, and then 3/4 of the state.
3/4
The question is,
The dichotomy is, we don't enforce the Constitution today.
Oh, absolutely.
There's the issue. I look at all this other stuff as a big distraction. What does the Second Amendment say? Thomas Jefferson said, hey, if you really get befuddled, like a fifth grader can read this thing. It's not a big deal. And if you really get befuddled and you're kind of confused, go with the obvious. The damn thing's obvious.
Oh yeah, it is. And when it first came about, because they tried to get me to be the lead sponsor on it, and I said we got to go by the Constitution we have. But Levin and now I understand Limbaugh and all these folks are pushing it hard. I don't know if it's something I want to fight, but what you said is exactly true. I mean, it's written. If we didn't impeach one judge,
We'll get one.
just one.
Well, I think though, it's going to come to the states though, so it sounds like, I hope you do.
Yeah, I just wanna-
Because they can say we need to obey the Constitution, we're not, and it looks like it's going to be taken away unless the states have to get together
But-
some way.
All right, excuse me. I'm Roy Jessup. I happen to be the District 92 captain for the Constitution of States movement project that's going on. And if anyone would like to speak with me during the social period, I've got some information, and I would love to
And you
talk to you
refer to
about
Article
that.
5, right?
Excuse me?
You say
About Article 5.
Okay. But because that is, from what I've heard, like I said, I've got friends solidly on both sides of this issue. And that's why I'm going to have to study it, because it's good people that want what we want. But my counter argument is, whatever you come up with, what keeps them from ignoring that? That's the argument I got to get past. Yes, sir.
I just have trouble understanding the two sides because the Constitution we have and we believe in, and the other side, the left, has no problem whatsoever completely ignoring it. It means absolutely nothing to them as it is, and the heart of it, the very purpose of it, is already crumbled. We're living in a economy that is, it's called capitalism, but not
Crony capital.
crony capitalism,
Oh, yeah.
referring to. It's no kind of capitalism, no kind of free market, no kind of, none of that.
It's a managed economy.
Yeah,
By the
absolutely.
government.
So it completely, in
Mismatch.
and of
Yeah.
itself, it completely already ignores the Constitution. So, people worry about changing the Constitution. Well, if you got a Constitution that don't mean nothing anyway, it's already been changed to.
Yeah, your argument's kind of where I am on it, and that's why I want to see, how do we enforce them, because they're ignoring what we have now.
So,
But I'm gonna listen, because I find myself in this situation so seldom. Because usually everything's black and white for me. This is one that's not black or white.
John Birch Society put out a really great DVD with regard to the Article 5.
And Jesse Grass is who I'm calling to get my count.
There you go.
I was at a town hall meeting a few years ago, and I think a lot of you folks were there, and Lindsey Graham did a presentation where the press was not even allowed into the room. Do you remember that, Joyce? Joan? John, I think you might have been there. And the question about the Constitution was posed to Mr. Graham. And he basically said, well, it really is not, that's something that really it doesn't apply to what's going on today. Now, right then and there, that told me something about Mr. Graham. And it needs to tell everybody in this room something about the politicians who are up there in D.C. ignoring what that instrument is responsible for doing, and that is preserving your freedom. And if you do not put into office gentlemen such as Senator Bright to start facilitating changes and the adherence to the Constitution, then we are doomed. And it's up to us. And we have to do it. It's our responsibility. It's our duty, not just as patriots, but as Christians. Okay? We have an obligation. And we can sit here and we can, moan and groan and complain about this, but until we're willing to get out there and fight the fight, if it's just getting out there and waving a sign for Senator Bright, telling your neighbors, telling your friends, and I tell everybody I know, come to Columbia on January the 14th. Let's stand in the way of this. We have to stop it. Not only can we do stuff like that, but we can also elect officials who are going to fight for our constitutional rights.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Senator, how do we talk to the average voter who doesn't know you, doesn't know what you stand for personally, and all they see is the sound bite or the newspaper article that says that you're in debt, and they say, well, how could I vote for him if he can't manage his own money? I'm going to send him to Washington where it's already a mess. Is he going to contribute that to more?
If I did,
And, are you going to have, like, if you go knocking on doors and asking people to support you, and they bring that subject up, how do we defend you in that?
the John Ramsey example. I mean, here's a guy who is probably one of Dave Ramsey, I'm sorry, one of the most renowned experts on debt who's gone around the country. I mean, I wouldn't be who I am had I not gone through what I've gone through. I wouldn't have such contempt for the federal government had I not been in a business that was crushed by it. I wouldn't be the person I am. You don't get this passion out of a textbook. And because of the debt, I wouldn't have this horror of debt.
But is your campaign going to put out a piece of literature or something, a paragraph or two, stating these your points here, so we could say this is what the man stands for. This is what
we've got brochures for you. You can hand out. You get with Lori. We've got tons and tons of brochures. It's clearly different. If you remember Haley, I never forget her campaign, and I remember talking to her during the campaign, telling her, stay the course. It's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, but basically she came out and said, I was an accountant for my family's business for all these years, and I understand the business. I understand what government puts you through. Next thing you know, they say, all right, get all these tax liens against your business, but you're the accountant. So they're going to do whatever they can to distract you. So the longer you spend time, and Haley did a brilliant job. She didn't spend time dwelling on it. You can't dwell on it. Everybody fails.
Well, knowing the money that Graham has, I mean, and if you wind up in a primary fight with him, you debate him, that's going to be the sound bite.
Lee Bright ran it. Lee Bright had a very successful company, had a $100,000 a week payroll, had a $10 million business. The economy changed. He got caught like a lot of people got caught. But Lee Bright ran up $1.4 million in debt over a 15-year period, most of it towards the end when the economy was in the tank. Lindsey Graham played a part in running up a $17 trillion debt.
Yeah.
I don't think Lindsey Graham wants to talk about that. I don't think anybody support Lindsey Graham wants to talk about that.
The difference is, Lee, it's one thing to have debt. We all have some debt. The question is, do you keep digging the hole deeper?
Yeah.
So, I mean, having debt's one thing, but just ignoring the fact you have debt and going deeper in the hole, that's what's happening in Washington.
And with my business, we'll never have time to explain it all, but the bottom line is, it was like a terminal illness. I was going to do everything I could to make that business survive when I should have just quit. But that's the advantage you have with Lee Bright, because I don't quit. I didn't quit then.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I'm not trying to knock you down. It's just that I know the people. I'm a precinct president. I know the people in my precinct, and if a lot of them are physically conservative, and that's going to be a negative in their mind.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of ways on how to defend you.
I'm one of five.
Lindsey Graham doing it with our money.
I'm one of 5 senators who voted against the bond bill. I got a record to stand against that. I mean, I see. Hey, here's what I tell people, and I say it about it in every speech. We don't want government run like a business. In a business, you have to take a risk, and you grow or die. That's how businesses work. You're either growing your business or you're going out of business. And the business I was in was capital intensive, so you had to borrow. All right? Government should not be run like a business. Government should only do what it has to do.
Right.
Because every dollar that's spent out of the treasury, every dollar is taken from someone. So government should only do what government has to do. So it's a very different philosophy. And every time I hear people say government needs to be run like a business, no. Because that's what they're doing now. They're trying to run government like a business. They're trying to grow revenue. What can we do? That's how this crony capitalism thing got started. What can we do to grow revenue? It ain't about growing revenue. It's about shrinking government, beating down the beast. It's just a totally different philosophy. Jefferson died $2 million in debt. Jefferson. I'm glad we had him. And I agree with, except for his theology, I agree with him.
Mr. Obama has abused his executive order privilege, and for the life of me, I don't know why Congress hasn't done anything about that. Can you share some thoughts on?
Well, I don't know why they haven't. Somebody hadn't drafted him each, but I mean, I don't understand. You know, the fact that he's ignoring laws.
I think the House has started some.
Well, you can't get it through the Senate, but you can draft it. You can have a trial.
I think the House has
I would
started
do
something.
anything other than be talking about immigration. You know, I'd give him nothing. He would listen. Politics. I learned this in the South Carolina Senate in my first year. It's the art of deprivation. You can bribe them. You don't give them anything. Obama gets nothing. We got the Congress. What gets funded? What we say.
Yeah, you got the first one.
We got the Congress. We'll fund this. If the Senate wants to kill it and Obama wants to kill it, fine. Let's give the American people a civics lesson. Congress controls the money. When they shut it down, they should have funded one thing at a time. And they should have held firm and done the right thing, but they caved. Obama is a street thug from Chicago who knows how to be a bully.
That's right.
Do you remember Assad? Assad punched him in the nose, and Obama backed down. Putin laughs at him.
Yeah, the rest of
When
that.
Kerry goes overseas, China starts claiming airspace. They know how to deal with a bully, the American people don't. But we're going to start.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz is doing it. Rand Paul's doing it. The people that got him elected is doing it. We got to fight him for 2 years and let's let the conservative president.
And don't think for 1 minute that Lee's not going to be stepping into a situation that he's going to get threatened. his family more than likely will be threatened.
Well, they can't take my money.
Maybe they'll take your debt.
You all know I don't have it.
You've been on
And he
with
knows
Radio One
this,
back
he
then?
knows this.
I've been on with Beck twice. The second time, after I hung up, he said, this guy sounds just like Ted Cruz. He invited me out to Texas. We said, we'll come. We followed up about 5 times, and he's replied, I'm busy that week, I'm busy that week, I'm busy that week. And then finally, the last reply was, they were just too busy.
I'm sorry I missed that, but he's famous for asking a candidate heading to Washington, what will keep you from being changed? Did he ask you that?
I think he did. I mean, I told him, I was raised in a single white trailer, and tornadoes hate single white trailers. I don't know if you know this or not, but they hate them. And I went airborne, picked it up, moved over 6 feet, dropped it, could have died. Honor your father and your mother. My mother told me not to go outside yet. We were going to go to my aunt's. She had a basement. I honored her. I didn't get crushed by the trailer. Had cancer when I was 17. I mean, I was on top of the world at 34. Had it, the tiger by the tail. I mean, I built a $10 million company. Everything's going my way and lost it all. God's in control.
Amen.
So, whatever I sacrifice or cave to gain on this world, my next breath will be the last. So, what's the point?
Maybe God didn't want you in the trucking business.
Well, a congressman who I won't name was talking about it and kind of thought that maybe this is what God was doing, was closing doors so I would, do something else. But if I name him, he'd be so bitter, so I won't. Because nobody wants to get in this primary. Yes, sir.
Well, you articulate lobbyists at the U.S. Congress and the Senate level. I'm always intrigued by lobbyists. And where did Lindsey Graham get all this money? And I don't know what the paycheck is a year, but explain. I don't know.
Well, the problem is there's so much power. People always talk about campaign finance reform. You never get the money out of politics till you get the power out of government. The money's there because the power's there. You get people that see government as dangerous, and like Jefferson did, see it as weeds in the garden, it's got to be pruned and beaten back. When you have people that have that view like I do, then you'll start seeing some real change. You'll start shrinking government. When you shrink government, there's not so much money in lobby. Listen, those lobbyists are the best salespeople in the world. I mean, if you had a fair tax and got all this energy that we put into applying, dealing with the tax code, if you had a fair tax, and then you didn't have all this power in Washington and all these lobbyists out there trying to get the loopholes.
And the IRS?
Yeah, and the IRS. The salespeople you would get because of that would be unbelievable. I mean, this country, we could turn this country around financially overnight. We got natural gas off the coast of Georgetown, South Carolina. We got Jasper is dying for a port, and people willing to put the money into it. We just let these permits, let the free market thrive. And God's blessed us so much with natural resources, but we got these people worshiping the planet that want to deny us these natural resources and bankrupt the country. I mean, how do coal, natural gas, oil, you name it, I'd get it all. And you know what I tell? I know overseas, the people over there that hate us to get all the oil money. I know they'd be upset, but I tell them, hey, good times are over.
Get over it.
The good times are over. And this UN, United Nations, I would tell them take one of these real big buildings you got over there in Qatar, and put the UN over there.
Amen.
And you start paying for it. You know what I'm saying? That is just such a
I
scandal.
got one more question, I'll shut up.
And me too, right after you. I got to get the spark work because my wife missed it.
Yeah. When we get Lindsey out, you in, he got all these millions of dollars that obviously lobbyists will get. What does he get to do with that money? Do you know?
I don't know what, I think you can give it to charity. I don't know what the federal guys can do. I mean, I think they can give it away, but he'll spend a lot of it. I mean, we get in a runoff. I mean, you want to hear about me being in debt, you'll hear all. But let me tell you something. I think what's happening with the media, getting all this out there, and I know some of my other opponents have made some comments and it's gotten back to me, and I understand this politics. I mean, I've won elections. My company was in trouble in 2012. I went out of business in 2011. I got reelected in 2012 with every precinct. And it was a constant pounding about my business. I mean, they put 4 mail pieces in 3 days right before the election. I think people are worried about what you can do with their money. They want to know how you feel about their tax dollars, how you going to behave with that. And I had the record to show it. But no, I don't, you know, I believe we're going to win this thing. I really do. And I think the harder they hit us now, the more numb people are going to be to it later. I think by the time Lindsay hits it, they're going to say, hey, you just know you're losing, and now you're trying to beat this guy up. I mean, eventually it gets old.
Sure.
Hey, look at Donald Trump. I had some people say, let Donald Trump run. He knows business. We need a guy that knows business. He filed bankruptcy at least twice. You know? I mean, you're going to fail in a capital society. I mean, it's risk and reward. Yeah. And I did really well for a long time. So. Anyway, thank you for having me. I'm going to Spartanburg.
Long drive.
Pastor Bill, I think we should raise this man up in prayer before we let him go.
I'll take all that you can give me. All you can give me.
We do, Bill?
Well, God, you know who will be the best one to be elected. Lord, what we've heard tonight, we believe that he'd be our candidate. So Lord, help him through this place. Provide income where he needs income, direction with regard to the objectives that are before him, with regard to our legislation. Draw the people to him, Lord, and support him. Watch over him. Take care of him. We cover him for the blood of Jesus as he goes. And Lord, let him prosper again. We pray that for him. And bless him in this election. We pray that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I'm leaving. Thank you. I want to leave you with this. I would not be in this race if it wasn't for your faith. I wouldn't be in this race. You guys gave me.
Well, this could be a defining moment, folks. You know, I think this may be the 3rd time Senator's been with us, and we've seen him in the battle. We've seen what's been